All right, so thank you everyone for joining. Today is Thursday, October 14th. This is the Denney Whitford Raleigh West NAC meeting. And we begin with saying welcome and thank you everyone for attending and appreciate everyone that's here. We have our full board. I'm not sure if we have attendees in the side, but we'll go down our agenda, and if there are questions or comments, they'll go into the chat, and we do have a moderator to review that if we need to. Next up then, we'll begin with a report from THPRD. Officer Hougen, or yes.
Yes, welcome everybody. Let's start with the crime statistics. I reviewed them. Nothing is standing out. No sharp increases over the past few months, though I do encourage people that are seeing small things like graffiti, maybe some illegal dumping, to give us a call and let us know about it. So small things that can help stop bigger things from happening. Also, this month, if you've noticed some of the patrol cars driving around, it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. If you see them driving around, they have the big purple ribbons on the cars. That's what it's signifying. To kind of piggyback on top of that, the police department is currently looking or accepting applications for our domestic violence victim advocates. Further information on those can be found on, was recently posted on Facebook on the Beaverton Police's website, and kind of gives you a little bit more idea of what the position is and how to apply for it. I can kind of tell you just a little bit about it. Basically, so say an officer gets called to a scene of a domestic violence call, and there's a victim there. We can have one of these advocates come out to the scene and assist the victim with resources and making sure that he or she is, knows what the next steps are and how to get additional assistance. So it's a really great program. And again, it was recently posted on our Facebook page, the link and to it, along with the application and how to get that started if that's something that you're interested in. On October 23rd, we are doing our DEA drug take back. Basically, it's a program that allows you to drop off old prescriptions at the new police department from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Again, that's October 23rd, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. I always know that these are pretty popular along with the shred events. I am unsure how they've always been held at the old police department, so with the big parking lot, easy access. And now I am unsure at this point how it's going to be, the drop off is going to work. So if you are planning on coming, just be prepared to be patient. Other thing that is happening right now, we are currently accepting applications for new police officers, and like many agencies in the area, where they're experiencing the same thing. And lastly, I think I mentioned this last time we met, but I believe the 217 project is about to kick off shortly, and it's gonna supposedly, and I checked the website today, project website, and again, it's gonna start this year and go till I think 2025. So only a few years of horrible traffic. So that is all I have from the police department. Is there any questions?
Hey, Justin, this is Rick. I've noticed a lot more of the grocery carts getting dumped along Jameson Road, and a couple that I've seen, McMillan Park, headed towards the cut through that goes over towards 5th and Western.
Mm-hmm.
Is that kind of, we kind of hope on that the grocery stores are sending out their trucks to go pick that stuff up?
My suggestion was, so we have our bicycle team deals with with a lot of those issues surrounding how those shopping carts got there. So if you're seeing a abundance of shopping carts, I would call and ask to speak to one of the bike officers They work from, I believe they come on actually like at 4:30 in the morning, and then there's a total of 4 of them. And the last 2 finish work around 9 p.m. and they work during the work week, so Monday through Friday. So I encourage you to give them a call, ask it, like just call non-emergency. Hey, can I speak to one of the bike officers? And then you can point out like, hey, we have this issue, and they should be able to help you out.
Great, appreciate it. Thank you.
I have a question too. I do regular walks in the morning, and I found a couple of cell phones, and actually then I also found a wallet that I returned back to a missing owner, but I still have one of the cell phones, and I'm wondering, I don't want to get myself in the middle of something. Should I just return those to the police or throw them away? What would you recommend?
Like wallet, cell phone, you can also bring it to the police department. I think you also can drop them in like mailboxes, because we get the mail. U.S. Post Office will call us, the Beaverton branch, and they'll give us like a box of cell phones and wallets that people have put into the mailboxes for us to return. So, you know what? If you're near a mailbox, you can drop it in there. It'll get to us. If you're close to the police department, you can bring it by the police department. Or if it's a super, and you're a ways away and you're not near, you can actually call us, and one of the district officers should be able to come pick it up for you.
Okay, thank you. I just figured since you're here, I'd ask. Thanks.
Perfect. Other questions? When was the drop off of pharmacy? Is that
The drug take back is October 23rd, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
23rd. Okay. That makes more sense.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not sure how they're going to do the pull in and drop off at the new police department.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I thought I heard the 26th on like Tuesday. That's kind of weird. So, okay. Thank you. Appreciate that, sir. Any other questions? Excellent then. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
And a moment here. There we
Let me-
go. Yes.
I was just going to let you know, I know Ron's trying to get in, Magnus. I don't know if he's able to get in. I guess the link is not working. I don't know if there's anything we can do at this point, but just to let you know.
Is he Miles, is there a way to check on a login remotely, or do you just let him in? Or I think he's got him. All right, thank you. Appreciate that, Sherry. Okay, next up, I think that's what she mentioned, the TVF&R. So we'll do the TVF&R report, because I think that was left off the list here. So.
Super. Hi, I'm Cassandra Ulven. I'm a chief officer with Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue. Thank you for letting me have some time tonight. So we are breathing a collective sigh of relief, as you likely all are, that the threat of wildfire in the urban interface area is diminished. So that is a wonderful thing. But we're transitioning into, and it seems sudden, the phase of time that we start to have home heating equipment fires. So we're just reminding folks that home heating equipment like space heaters and floor heaters and fireplaces and wood stoves need space. So make sure you've got at least 3 feet of clearance around those items. We also, this next month, are launching a community paramedic program where we will be basically having a full-time paramedic going to some of our folks that utilize the 911 system fairly frequently and would benefit from getting proactive visits, more patient advocacy. So we're going to pilot that program for 6 weeks in an effort to likely incorporate that into our regular response. So we're very excited about that. We also, in December, are going to be having a recruit academy for single role paramedics, which is good because we've had a lot of retirements. And so this will bolster our staffing. And then in February, we'll be having a paramedic academy. Similarly, we've had a lot of folks retire. So this will be really, really helpful for us. And then lastly, we are going to have, you'll be getting your ballots in the mail soon for the November election. There will be a bond measure for TVF&R on that ballot. This is a cost neutral proposition. This bond measure, basically we're retiring debt from old bonds, which gives us additional capacity there if voters approve allow us to issue bonds. If voters were to approve those proposed bonds, again, there's no tax increase, but that would enable us to make improvements at 10 of 29 of our fire stations. It would allow us to rebuild 2 fire stations that are basically, it's more cost effective to rebuild versus trying to renovate. It will allow us to purchase apparatus, including 4 trucks, 10 engines, 4 trucks, and 4 medic units. It will also enable us to purchase land in areas where we anticipate growth will occur. And then lastly, it will help us make improvements to our training center. For any of you that have been to our training center, we have a lot of outdated props that we need to invest in. Our classrooms are outdated, so we need to just basically make site and safety improvements at our training center. If voters choose not to pass the proposed bond measure, then your taxes will go down and we won't be able to make the purchases that I've just mentioned. So with that, I'm grateful for the audience and would love to answer questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Rick?
Yeah, Cassandra, a question. Are you going to be, is TVF&R going to start transporting in the next future?
That is an excellent question. So we already do transport in Yamhill County.
Mhm.
We basically own the ambulance service area there. In Washington County, where you live, we only transport if Metro West Ambulance, the private ambulance provider, cannot do so, or if there's a really critical incident and we have the ability to transport in a faster means than they do. But currently Metro West Ambulance holds the franchise in Washington County. So we just serve as a secondary option. And then lastly, in Clackamas County, we're a subcontractor with American Medical Response, who holds the franchise agreement there. So we only transport when they tell us they need us to, because we happen to be faster in a particular instance, or if there's a mass casualty incident or a critical incident where just, it's very imperative that a patient gets transported and we already have the ability to do so.
Right.
Does
Yeah,
that
'cause
answer your question?
I've seen your day facility that you've got here off Beaverton Hillsdale Highway, and been seeing them go up and down all the time. And I'm kind of wondering when they were going to start transporting. So
Yeah, absolutely. There are instances where we do transport, and we have a really good partnership with Metro West Ambulance. So if for the sake of the patient, it makes sense for us to transport and we're already there, we'll do that. But they're the primary.
okay, thanks.
Thanks for the question.
Thank you. Anything else? Appreciate it. Appreciate everything you do. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Next up is the THPRD report. And Jaspreet.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jaspreet. I work with Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District. Good evening, Mayor Beaty, and everyone in the audience as well. So to just kick us off, we are hiring. The district is hiring. We have lots of part-time and seasonal opportunities available to support our programming. Please visit our website to learn more. Along with, we have several advisory committee as well as budget committee applications open. So we're recruiting for all of our advisory committees, including the Nature and Trails, Parks and Facilities, Programs and Events, as well as the budget committee applications are also open. For the advisory committees, the last date to apply is October 25th. And for budget committees, I believe it's early November. The district's community visioning process was recently awarded 2 national awards for public involvement project of the year by the International Association for Public Participation USA chapter. as well as the Core Values Award for Respect for Diversity, Inclusion, and Culture. And THPRD will now be representing the United States at the international competition later this month and competing against projects from Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and other countries. We have lots of fun activities planned around Halloween, as well as our Talking Walls Murals project are upcoming. Talking Walls, we have an upcoming event on Saturday, October 23rd. Murals will be painted at the HMD complex on Southwest Walker, where the district is collaborating with Color Outside the Lines and the Five Oaks Museum, and we have several Latinx artists participating along with youth, these murals are being supported by a generous grant from the Reeser Family Foundation and the Oregon Cultural Trust. We have volunteer opportunities available as well with the district. We're always looking for individuals and families at our one-day events that can help support ongoing efforts, as well as community garden parties. So all of those details can be found on our website. With the Halloween activities that are upcoming, the staff are working with City of Beaverton, Experience Theater Project, and Dragon Theater on 2 upcoming events. One this Saturday, October 16th, which will be from 4 to 6:30, and then another one from October 23rd in the evening from 4 to 7. Basketball leagues are currently open, and registration is currently open, and they are being held at the Athletic Center starting October 4th, so as of last week. The Star Center is reopened, which is great news for our seniors. And then programs include fitness classes, weight and cardio room, and so much more. We also have an ongoing senior giving campaign. The Tualatin Hills Park Foundation is hosting a senior giving campaign where we're asking community members to consider making a donation to help seniors enjoy the Stir Center offerings. If you would like to make a donation, please visit the foundation's website at thpf.org. And then finally, we have maintenance updates with the autumn season coming up, as staff are busy this fall replacing athletics field lights at the HMT complex and Sunset Sports Complex, as well as working on drainage project at the Commonwealth Lake Park. And then last but not least, we have childcare options available on expanding affordable childcare options for our communities. We have limited space available at Garden Home Rec Center and are also working on compiling waiting lists for other locations with the Beaverton School District and community partners on additional childcare options. Any questions from the audience or anyone on the call?
Anybody? Thank you. It's good. Is there any word on? It's gone. The our swim center, Harmon.
I believe the last I heard, I coordinated. I reached out to our aquatic staff. So we're experiencing, like so many other organizations, we are experiencing a hiring lag. So we're struggling to hire lifeguards, as well as due to budget constraints and staffing shortages. I think Harmon is it's still off the list for now, but hopefully spring.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jaspreet. Next up, very special guests this evening. We have Her Honor the Mayor going to give us an update and let us know what is going on. And I believe you're giving us what's been happening since the big election and then what we got going on in the future. Is that right?
I was wondering who were giving that intro. I thought you were talking about Cassandra for a minute. So I was like, oh, who's the special VIP tonight? Apparently
she's looking pretty good there. She's very daunting. And there, I thought at first she was with Officer Hougen because the uniform, and I thought you're ready to go get them. So yeah, we both distinguished. Thank you.
Well, I guess you guys have a night of VIPs hanging out. I'm at home with my kiddo in the background. And so if you hear, just know the plus side of COVID is being able to attend a lot of these events from my house and not having to miss out time with her. And if you watch council, you see her make appearances, although I've been trying to negotiate with my husband to make sure that she's fully clothed when she comes behind me in the council meeting, because it's cute now, but that poor kid in 20 years from now might not think it's super awesome. So I've been trying to get mosey around to all the NACs. As you know, we have a lot of them. Just kind of talk to you guys about the charter change. I've been in office for about 10 months. We've done some really great work this year. We just hired our full-time city manager. She started, I believe, 5 weeks ago. It feels like an eternity. Her and I we're next door office mates, and the way that you guys should think about us and our partnership is she's like the COO that runs everything inside the building, and I'm like the CEO who gets to go out and take credit for all their work and hang out and talk about rad things the community are doing. So she's been on board. As you know, it was a long transition from our strong mayor form of government to the form of government we're in now, but they did make me a full-time mayor, which is really great. So my full-time job is to brag about the city and do cool things. And it's a big difference because I was able to negotiate about an additional $15 million of ARPA funding that came to the state over the last 3 months, because I'm around full time to talk to people and make things happen. So we're currently talking about how we're spending the $16 million of direct allocation that came to the city. And we also partnered with our state reps and state senators on projects like $2.5 million for a year-round homeless shelter that we're at the look of where we're going to scope and put it. We got about $1.5 million to create a nonprofit incubator. What I know of coming from a not-for-profit background is they're often started by people that are super awesome and have really great intentions, but often don't have all the business acumen to partner with it. So we're going to put them in an incubator similar to what we do with new startup companies and kind of teach them that stuff they need to know from the ground up. Because the one thing about ARPA is as all the money is coming in, we're turning to nonprofits to do things we're not really like chartered to do, or we might not want to do long-term, or really the city has no business doing. So if we're going to invest that money, I want to make sure that they understand and they're around in a couple of years to kind of come forward with that. We secured about $1.5 million for our Performing Arts Center. So if you've been in Central Beaverton lately, you have seen our parking garage go up, the Performing Arts Center going up, and we're looking at hosting the first event there in March, which would be the State of the City. That's where we're targeting. So hopefully a year ago, I thought we would be in there by now, but with COVID and everything else and delays and constructions and all of the stuff that's happening, we're targeting for March, but really it's happened at a pretty light speed comparatively to like other projects being built. We also have secured a lot of federal money for the Loop project in downtown Beaverton. So we're looking at what that's going to look like, widening the sidewalks, making sure that it's ADA accessible, having lighting, wayfinding signs, telling people how to use our downtown core. We also created the First Street Dining Commons out of necessity with COVID, and we're looking to make that permanent if the state fire marshal and all of us are negotiating on what permanent outdoor structures look like kind of going forward. So we're super excited about that. And we swore in our 7th city councilor this week. And so because the charter didn't explicitly say the most votes wins, it went to a runoff. So it took 7.5 months to fill that seat, and Councilor Hartmeyer-Prigg that won now has to run again in May because the way the charter is. When we pass the charter, we pass term limits. So we'll have 2 open council seats coming in this May election. So it's time for people to start thinking about if the next step of elected office is for them. We have those seats opening coming up. And we have our supplemental budget coming up in 2 weeks. And that's where we kind of do a catch-all. We do annual budgets. Some cities do them every 2 years. We do it yearly. And so the half-year budget mark is kind of all the stuff that we missed throughout the year. And I would say we have our council goal setting retreat in December. And my goal as mayor is to make sure that we set high level goals. So in our last form of government, council often got really nitty and gritty, like specifics with our goals, because the way that our charter was and a strong mayor that was both the city manager and the mayor, we wanted to make sure what we wanted actioned actually got done. So now we're kind of adapting to this new form of government where we really need to set more operational level goals so our staff can actually work and achieve them. So my goal is to bring everyone in together in December, set high level goals for the year, and let our new city manager kind of get to work and get going. So That's kind of the highlights for me, what we've been doing. Of course, we have TVF&R in here, so I'd be remiss to not talk about the partnership we did at Nike. We did a mayor summit early on and talked about, all I knew is I wanted a massive West Side vaccine clinic. We knew that it's really challenging for our working families, our dual working families, to get to a vaccine clinic in Salem or downtown. So we brought everyone together, and within a week, we had TVF&R going, cool, we're gonna do it at Nike. Does that work for you? Nike was a fantastic host. We had TVF&R doing vaccines and our CERT team doing making sure all the traffic flow works. We're looking at restarting that friendship, maybe not with TVF&R, but with the county, as the FDA approves vaccines for 5 to 11. So we're really thinking hard about how we're going to vaccinate young people in our community. My previous work prior to coming here was running school-based health centers. So I have my side hustle project the last couple of weeks is making sure we have a plan in place to get young people vaccinated. Because from my mayor's seat, it's about economic recovery. And we are not going to be in a great economic recovery position if we can't keep young people in school and learning. And if you are parents in this room, you know what that's like when your kid's quarantined or they're at home or they can't go to daycare because they have the sniffles and everyone thinks they have COVID, but they don't. So we're in this for a while, and I'm excited to get them partnered up and running again. And we know it's going to take a lot of effort to vaccinate young people, but we're in it to do it. So those are kind of my high level updates. Happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Excellent, thank you. Any questions?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. I have to tattle on the mayor. So nearly 10 years ago, she and I were in Leadership Beaverton together, and there was a government day, a local government day, where they bring you into City Hall and they put you through a simulation and they sit you on the dais. And the mayor sat there and she said, someday I'm going to be mayor of Beaverton. And sure enough, she is mayor of Beaverton. And it's been a pleasure to watch her progress and tackle everything that she ambitiously said that she would do. So kudos to you, Mayor. And I just thought I'd share that because it's fun to see you shining and having seen you project your future and manifest it in such a great way. So, and we really appreciate the partnership with the city. So
I appreciate that. And you just, you know, you can't be what you can't see, and you got to put those goals out there in front of you. That's what I tell my 4-year-old all the time. Currently, her big goal is to be a dog. So I don't know how I'm going to make that happen, but she's in it for it.
Excellent. Where did that go? And then I see we had one question from the audience on that. Miles, is that you, or do you put Ron? Can you put that in the chat, or what's the my screen go?
Ernie, that may have been me. I had raised my hand, so I lowered it.
Oh,
So
okay,
there is
gotcha.
a hand
Gotcha.
raised now. That's probably just from the past.
Well, okay, because I see Ron does. Is that Ron? Did you have a question? Can you put something in the chat there if you're? This is my screen is doing its thing here, and I gotta figure out what happened.
You're sharing your screen, Ernie.
Oh. Oh, is that why? I got you. Okay, I couldn't figure out what in the world. Okay, there we go.
This is like the easiest NAC I've been to. You guys haven't peppered me at all, so I appreciate that. It's whoever spoke before me must have warmed you up. So
Well, we're not there yet. We'll go to Rick. And I'll check in the chat.
Mayor, got a question. Is the city going to do anything about the congressional redistricting? I know that there's a lot of, and of course it impacts us. I mean, we're the one NAC that got grabbed and carved and shoved into the new 6th. So it's rather interesting that everybody else is somewhere and there's us. So.
yeah, it's a great question. So, you know, the state legislature did their process and passed those. I testified as the mayor quite a bit about keeping us in one congressional district. I thought that was really important. I'll have to tell you the way the lines ended up, it was really a good shift, and it wasn't the best because the original line had CD6 drawn, which you're drawn into at Canyon Road. Right. And so it would have put City Hall in one, the rest of Beaverton in another. This wasn't the ideal circumstance, but my years of negotiating union contracts taught me if we all kind of walk away feeling like we didn't get the best thing out of it, it's probably a good contract. And the way that our sentence lines were redrawn, of course, we had some of our state reps drawn out. We have some that are going to be coming in. State Rep Dacia Graber, who represented Tigard's, coming into part of Beaverton. That's a big win for me. She's a firefighter over at TVF&R. We partner on a lot of things already. We have a newly created Senate seat, which I live in Sexton Mountain, so I'm also drawn into CD6. I also will have a new senator. I also will have a new state rep. And so I feel everyone that represents the Beaty family is going to be brand new next year. The only way any of that changes is, of course, a federal lawsuit. I don't really project that happening because I think they had a pretty big open process. So I think we are probably where we're going to be. So I guess the next question is, who runs for CD6 and who do we want representing Beaverton? And the questions I'll be asking and talking about and endorsing that race will be, you know, I want somebody that's West Side focused. I want someone that's Beaverton focused. I want someone that understands our diversity. I want someone to understand our goals, to help us address houselessness and homelessness. So I got a long list, but I'm with you. It's going to be a challenge to be a mayor where we had one senator, or two senators, one congressperson, and 4 state reps. And now I'm going to have to deal with 4 state senators, 6 state reps, and 2 congressional people. And my job is relational, and there's no shortcut to relationship building. So I project a lot of coffees in the future to understand where people are. That was a long answer too. I can't change it. I'm here absorbing it with you.
Oh, I got it. No, it's just kind of interesting to see it and then see how we're going to go all the way down as far as northern Salem. So
yeah.
in the district.
And that was my argument. You know, we don't have a lot of common in Newburgh with Beaverton, in my opinion. So I think it'll be a little bit different kind of moving forward. The plus side is we'll have 2 congressional people looking out for our interests. Beaverton's a big city. People want to have us in their team. So I'm hopeful for the new person to have the same great working relationship we have with Congresswoman Bonamici.
Thanks.
Thank you. One follow-up to the previous conversation. Ron, one of our regular attendees, was asking, he's a member of CERT, and they're going to do a part of the presentation and walkthrough for the new police department, since CERT does the emergency info up there as well. Are you going to include that in the COVID project? Is there a way to make sure that CERT's part of the next round of COVID work that you do?
Of course, we can't do it without CERT. I mean, really, I think when we totaled up the hours, it was well over $100,000 of volunteer service hours from CERT to make that vaccine clinic happen. That's a lot. I've been thinking a lot about, you know, how can we support people? How can we make sure people do CERT more? I know some of you in here have done CERT in the past, but really the projects are not going away. CERT stepped up and manned our overnight cooling shelter when at 115 degrees. So if there's ever meaningful ways that I could come and thank you, and sometimes thank you doesn't seem like enough, but I'm trying that like really basic thing of telling CERT thank you, because they really have done wonderful things for the city this year that we couldn't have done. We couldn't have paid for that. We couldn't have operated without them. It's important for us.
Super, thank you.
Thank you.
One question, any other questions right now?
I have,
oh, Tracy?
I have just kind of a general question, which is, you came into this job coming from city council. You kind of knew what you were getting into, presumably. Has anything surprised you from the mayor perspective that you didn't expect?
That's a great question and probably requires a happy hour, but I would say, you know, this is an immense job that I don't think that you really can understand what you're coming into until you're sitting in it. I think changing a form of government in the middle of it, I think being a mayor during a global pandemic, during extreme wildfires and smoke and temperatures of 115 degrees, I think I would have spent a lot more of my time cutting ribbons, hanging out at community events and celebrating. But I spend the most of my time in crisis mode. And I'm an Army veteran, I'm a combat veteran, I'm accustomed to stressful situations. I just didn't think we would be in it this long. And so I think I look forward to boring days. They're definitely not now. We still have a lot of work ahead of us to do, you know, but I think the partnerships that we've been able to do and kind of partner with, and Beaverton's not a full service city. We have a special district fire district. We have a special district park. We have a special district fire. So it's just a lot of relationship management in this job that I hadn't really anticipated I'd see coming. But on the plus side, it's super fun and it's the greatest job in the world. And if you ask my daughter what I do, she tells you I talk on the phone, which is pretty true.
Excellent, thank you. I did one comment, one question, and the comment was part of what Cassandra had said before. I remember the first time that Mayor Beaty and I met was shortly after I had run for city council for Bruce Dalrymple's seat, and we had spoke about her running and had discussed what it was like and the difference in your perception and what it was like. So I appreciate that. I don't think people realize how much more work is involved in doing that. One of the things I made a commitment to was I attended every city council meeting as if I was a city councilor for a year, going down there pre-COVID. And you listen to all the things and you see some of the packets and you think about the work, and it's much more than just the meetings, the same as the NAC, but it's on a whole different level. And so the mayor just goes beyond that as well. So I think to Tracy's point, thank you. It's well done and a lot of good work for that. So appreciate that. The question though comes from kind of the NAC as a nebulous, because we're on the east corner, we're a little chopped up and have had our fair share of struggles. I think it's not so much a question as I guess a request that we keep in mind, or is there a way that we can figure out how to balance the jurisdiction issues that we're facing? Because you talked about open air and the walkability projects and everything. Was on traffic commission and heard a presentation about open, keeping the streets open and open market. People were really for that. But then there was a whole discussion we just had this time about the new parking initiative and how we're going to do the pay for parking, and we're going to charge people. We're going to put meters and third-party vendor, and we're going to do that. And everybody was for that too. And then there was a shortage of parking. There's too much parking. And then over on our side, there are people struggling with some of the businesses that are just outside the city limits, and some of them that are just inside the city limits. So I think one of the things that we really struggle with that we could use some help with is helping us understand how all that plays in and what the vision of the city is for that, because I know there's a big move to restrict or to allow developers to have as many parking or as few parking spaces they want, right? And we're also trying to do the ADU units, and we're going to let those in. We're also going to put sidewalks in. We're going to close some of the streets so we can have a lot of churn and angst in transportation, which on our side kind of gets beat up. So I guess I'd really appreciate it if the city would kind of help us out in what they think is a vision for things. We have something we're going to talk about later on the agenda that they had that a developer had asked for a change of an exception from one of the rules, and there's already concern about parking for that as well. So,
well, I appreciate the work in the years you've spent on traffic commission, because I think you have a good idea of how challenging some of these decisions are before us. And you know, I think I drove the city manager. She asked me to drive her around and talk about Beaverton from my perspective. So we got in the car and we actually drove your neighborhood. We also drove West Sylvan and kind of our exterior parts of the community that I think sometimes don't get as much attention as everyone else. And I'm the only elected official that I'm pretty sure has walked every single street of Beaverton. You know, running a one-year campaign kind of put me in a position to have to knock as many doors as humanly possible. So I know the status of our neighborhoods, what our sidewalks look like, the different fields and what we're doing. One of the things that's really important to me is that we talk about neighborhoods and their livability, and we look at them a little bit differently, not one size fits all. You know, most of you know I lived in central Beaverton until I moved to Sexton Mountain, and I spent 10 years in that neighborhood with no sidewalks, no one paying attention, no one caring about infill, you know, all of those things that dramatically impacted the livability of our community, putting in apartments with not enough parking. So I'm with you on those. I don't have a magic buttoned up political answer for you tonight, other than I'm paying attention. Equity, how we spend money matters. And sometimes the pendulum swings. You know, when the neighborhood that I lived in central Beaverton, all 4 of my neighbors were original homeowners that had owned their home over 50 years, that had never had sidewalks put in. And going to tell my 85-year-old neighbor, sorry, it's one more year, we're not putting in a sidewalk. I mean, that was like crushing to me. That's why I fought so hard for the Menlo Street project to go in. I think we have to think about how we're dealing with parking is shifting in the city. If you live in Portland, parking is a privilege, not a right. If you live in Beaverton, parking is a right, not a privilege. And so this mindset shift is going to be a little bit challenging. But I think the city also has not done a great job about telling people how to use our facilities, where to park. Like we have a huge lot outside the library that you can walk anywhere in central Beaverton to. And the amount of emails I get that says there's not enough parking just absolutely blows my mind. So there's some communication work we need to do. And there's also a reality that some of our neighborhoods are getting more dense and changing. And what does that mean? You know, if we change the setback from 30 feet to 15, driveways go away. Where are people going to park? So those decisions are before us right now as we're kind of thinking. And I'm encouraging our planning staff to think about it neighborhood by neighborhood, not one size fits all, because what fits well in Sexton Mountain doesn't fit well in, you know, Raleigh Hills. So I think we do have some lessons to be learned. I think Traffic Commission is a great place for us to look at some of those, because I see it as early indicators of problems when things come to the Traffic Commission. It comes there, then other problems start arising. So that's how I kind of look at our Traffic Commission, as I see issues like brewing there, and then I pay a little bit more attention.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate it from the NAC standpoint. I appreciate it from the Traffic Commission, because I think that we end up with the aftermath as a side note, because Planning Commission allows something to happen, and then it almost feels sometimes like we're trying to clean it up, and we're just not that empowered to do a lot of the things that really need to change. And you're right. The perfect example is how this is not a one piece fits all. It's a different, every issue that comes before us is different in some ways. So thank you. I appreciate that help too. I almost said Commissioner Moore. Sherry?
Yes, thank you. Mayor Beaty, I work in an environment, my mommy job became really much more critical to during COVID. I took a job when I first moved here working retail, and I hadn't worked retail in a while. I retired from retail. My daughter's now 18, and what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing for her, as well as lots of people that I see daily, that they want to be ready to breathe a community sigh of relief when COVID is over, but they're ready for it to be over, and it's not. I have been the mask police. I have been the cheerleader for the daughter who doesn't want to go away to school. She's still home with me when she should be, in my opinion, away at college. I'm feeling like we all are going to have a little bit of post-traumatic stress disorder going on here when we come out of this. And I'm just curious about how we can prep to address this. It's almost as though we've all been in a way, it feels like being the reverse of homeless. We've been stuck at home and we've been so cloistered that I'm finding people don't know how to interact. I get people yelling at me about total first world problems. This is not a big deal. Why are you yelling at me? Because your package is 3 days late. I can't fix it. I'm trying to help you. I'm being yelled at. So I'm stressed out. They're stressed out. And I'm surprised we didn't see more violence or more, we just talked to the police this past summer, because when it's hot and people are angry, I moved here from Chicago. That's a bad combination. Just in general, is there a post-COVID commission gonna go on? What are we planning to do, or what should we be planning to do as a NAC to address some of these concerns, in your opinion?
That's a lot. I agree. You know, I had two very different experiences this last month. I was in Dallas at the Bush Center working on veteran issues after the collapse of Afghanistan, and COVID didn't exist. And I would get screamed at and called a communist. This was 2 weeks ago, literally being called a communist for wearing a mask, because people don't know the difference between a Marxist and a communist and a socialist. And COVID wasn't even real. And then we went to Hawaii for vacation, my family and I, and they required everyone to be vaccinated. Took your temperature everywhere you went. I felt incredibly safe. I wasn't on high alert. When we flew to Texas, I took my own food because I didn't want to go into restaurants. I knew kind of the environment. I have a kid that can't be vaccinated. So I've been very COVID cautious. My husband is a National Guard officer and has done a lot of the rollout of COVID vaccines across the state. They also have activated people to work in hospitals, and now they're activating people to go to Afghanistan. To welcome Afghan refugees. I think we're collectively experiencing a lot of what military people or first responders experience. lots of time on high alert, fight or flight, your adrenal glands are running totally 24/7. And now we're putting people back into stressful situations. And a lot of the stressful situations are caused by ourselves, people not getting vaccinated, not wearing their masks, not following the rules. And so I think my number one message to everyone is like, we got to get vaccinated. We're doing really well in this county. We're 81%. We got a long way to go with children. And I think we're collectively going to get there, but the longer and harder. And as a veteran, I think the most patriotic thing you could do for this country is put a mask on and get vaccinated. I mean, I literally went to war. I think we can ask people to do that. But I would say what we do in post-recovery, that's what we have our ARPA money for. We're having those conversations now. What does that look like? Is it mental health in school? Is it resources for families? I mean, young people, man, my kid is a weirdo. Like that year of like missing, I mean, it was a plus side. My husband and I got to spend more time with her than I think we would have ever done because our careers just wouldn't allow it. And so we had this really great family bond that I don't think we would have had, but she does not know how to human around other tiny humans her own age. We finally made a really hard decision to put her into pre-K this year, and she's flourishing. So I think, but we had to run the risks of our family. My mom is a primary caregiver, had COPD, we couldn't do it. I think it's going to be rough. And I wish there wasn't quite the understanding, but I do think what NACs can do is think about how we're going to celebrate together, how we're going to start kind of re-emerging. And we can't go from 0 to 1 million. Like maybe it's just handed out ice cream in the park. Like it doesn't have to be. And the city has a reputation of doing everything like gold standard. It's okay. We might have to think about not throwing 2,000 person events and having it be all or nothing and bringing in the Fun Factory band and doing all that. Maybe it's just more simple community events where people kind of get to know each other. And I think if we focus on children, the concentric circles that move out beyond that is where I think we're going to find community. I don't think that truly answered your question because I've never been asked that, but I'm open to ideas. So please email me if you have them.
Excellent, thank you.
It was a good analogy and a great way to put it too. I think it puts it into perspective for a lot of people who aren't or didn't think about it too, because it's so hard when you go through that interaction sometimes, or the first interaction especially.
And I tell people all the time, like people, you want to talk about people yelling at people, like be a politician. That's all they do. I always remind people, when you tell me something, pretend like you're telling me for the first time, because you are, and I need some time to adjust to it. But the problem is when it's like a pothole in your yard or something we've not taken care of, or a package that late, they've been thinking about it for days and they are spiraled up. And now you finally answered the phone and boy, howdy, are they going to let you have it? So I always remind people when you're talking to like people, tell them like it's the first time, because it probably is. And we should tell that about retail workers, because it's probably the first time you're hearing about their package not being delivered, but they've been thinking about it for 72 straight hours because they need their Amazon box.
Badly.
Thank you. Nice. Anybody else? All right, Mary, appreciate your time. Thank you so much for attending and sharing with us. And if you need to go, we understand. If not, you're welcome to stay with us and see all the excitement.
Well, I'm sure I haven't heard TVF&R's pitch yet, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to hear it 700 times in the next few weeks. So just a reminder to vote for whatever Cassandra's asking you to vote for, because we have the best special district fire. And if you like people responding to you when you call 911, we need to support them.
And they're right up the street from us. So that is true. All right, thank you. Miles, the NAC elections, typically we have done a nomination 1 month and then the vote the next. Is there something different that needs to happen this time?
Nope, if that's the way that you've done it before and that's why you want to continue doing it, that's great.
Okay, so can we have the elections today, or do we nominate and we need to hold them open, or is there a difference with COVID?
You could do your nominations and vote tonight, since it is on your agenda. Okay. Or you could nominate and do it your next meeting, but a lot of NACs have just been taking care of it.
Okay.
Unless we know of people who are going to come volunteer for positions.
unless there was a follow-up for a coup. Yeah, we did not have that.
You're looking for a coup.
We are indeed. Otherwise, somebody's going to make a motion to have the board remain as is, and we'll have a vote. I'll give you time to think about that. My report doesn't actually have, well, I have two different agendas, and so my apologies for going back and forth. The city, why don't we have the city updates from Miles though, and then, oh, there it is after, sorry. So let's have the city update, and then we'll do the NAC. We'll let everybody think about how they're gonna nominate, all right?
Okay. Well, the mayor stole some of my city update, but that's her prerogative as mayor. I was going to talk about keeping up the fight against COVID, but I think she was very eloquent and gave us our marching orders. The next thing on my list is the Beaverton Resource Fair. It's this Saturday at the Beaverton Main Library. It's a very, very popular event. It's a great place for families to connect with nonprofits that serve them. It's from 10 to 1, and the event is free, and there's different activities for the whole family, activities for kids, giveaways, and a raffle. And there's a long list of participating organizations at beavertonlibrary.org, FRF, Family Resource Fair. And then the Beaverton Art Mix is back, and it runs through this weekend. It's all online at beavertonoregon.gov/BAM, BAM. There's more than 200 juried fine artworks for sale, and you can view them all. And it helps celebrate Arts and Humanities Month, which is October, by supporting our amazing regional artists. And hopefully you find one piece you're looking for, or the perfect gift for someone else. So I think we've heard how the arts community was hit really hard with COVID, and this is one of the ways the city is trying to help not only continue the tradition of BAM, but also help those artists who lost a lot of income during COVID. And that is all the updates I have.
Okay, thank you. With that in mind then, it's come that time then, before we do our board business, which would be what's going on for next year. Who's staying, who's going, who's moving?
Do we have a choice? I move that the existing board be is it renominated or nominated again?
Yeah, well, no, not nominate. You would make a motion that the new board be, yeah, I guess you would make a nomination first.
I move
There.
that all the current board members be nominated for re-election.
Second.
Yeah. All right. So Tracy made a motion. Rick made a second. Is there any discussion on this? Okay. So do we need to do a roll, Miles? We've always, or do we just do a, how's that work in this forum? I know traffic commission, we have to be very formal about it in this. Is there a, can we,
No, you can say all those in favor, all those
Okay.
opposed.
all those in favor? Aye. Yeah. Okay, so then that motion passes. So now you, are you ready to vote? That was a motion to keep all the board members in as they are. There were no other nominations or follow-ups. So then I'd make a motion that we vote everyone who is present, believe in the bylaws. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so Rick is second on that. And then final discussion. Okay, all those in favor of keeping the board the same and election without the coup, motion passes. I can't see what our good friends in the gallery are doing, but I don't know when. Ron would like to point out he really doesn't have an option, which he normally doesn't have anyway. So, all right, that motion passes unanimous. So thank you. We are now continuing one more year together. What a team. Appreciate that. Speaking of which, everyone now gets to discuss their opportunities and updates. So board business first, BCCI report from Rick.
Not very many meetings over the summer, just, one in June and then one in August. Most important points, Mayor Beaty actually hit them. We've got a huge change that's coming in housing. And I sit on the Housing Options Project, the HOP. There will be somewhere, and Miles helped me, I believe that it's early next year. They have to take a vote because if they don't have it in place by 2022, you have to go by the state's rules. So Beaverton has a series of different, it's all on the Beaverton website, about what they're going to do about setbacks, you know, where they're going to put housing, where they're going to allow it, how they're going to allow it, how high it's going to be to come through. They can't, you can't, there are certain things they can't stop because of the way the state law is written. So that's one. And then second, with that comes what you brought up, Ernie, which is transportation, because there's questions about parking. Is it going to be 1 slot or 2 slots per? Is it going to be, you know, how are you going to do the parking into this? Because if you go in our area where we start looking, say in the Raleigh Hills zone, you got a lot of big lots on corners. And so there's going to be an opportunity where those are going to become triplexes. And if they're going to be triplexes, they're going to be triplexes allowing 1 car space or say 1 garage. And that means then you've got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath triplex, 3 of them. So all the other cars are on the street. So there's a whole series of these, and I'm planning to make a motion to BCCI that they need to develop a subcommittee. They don't have one today that kind of deals with this, the housing and transportation issues, not traffic, Bernie, but more transportation, to have conversations with TriMet to say, what's the plan here? How are we going to do this? What, you know, how are you going to help us? When I'm sitting there with the folks from the areas in the far side, what Lacey said was about Sexton Mountain, you should hear them when they're trying to talk about transportation. They can't get anywhere. They can't get over 175th to drop down to TV Highway, and they barely can get out coming down Roy Rogers, and getting to Shoals Ferry is an hour-long trip. So yep. Those are the bigger BCCI issues at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Ron, did you have a question, or was that from before?
No, that's that's a current question or an observation. I travel throughout the area, both within Beaverton and as well as other areas, and I'm alarmed at how difficult it is to travel by bicycle or by car through a lot of the streets, particularly in Portland, because of this issue of restricted parking for tenants in their homes, and everything's on the street. As a youngster, streets that I used to travel along where you could see cars going both directions, it's impossible to do anymore. And I would hope that that doesn't migrate into the Beaverton area.
It's gonna, because that's the new process that they're allowing for the metro level and the state. There's an article, I think, that actually Sherry had passed along during Traffic Commission when we were having a discussion that notes that they what was the title? Oregon just ended excessive parking mandates on most urban lots, and that includes Beaverton. So, and that's one thing that we'll bring up here in a few minutes later on too. So, thanks, Rick. I appreciate that. And follow up.
Oh, I was just going to say, I mean, this goes without saying, but we can't not have parking, you know, to reduce the number of cars, we have to have transit that works because as it is right now, we are not Portland. TriMet does not serve Beaverton the same way it serves Portland. As someone who takes the bus to work every day, it is not easy to get around Beaverton on TriMet. If you want to go downtown, sure, that's easy, but you can't get from one side of the Beaverton to the other on TriMet. It takes 3 buses. So until we have that transit infrastructure, people are going to still drive cars. Yeah,
exactly. Thank you. I appreciate that, Rick. Yeah, well, there are definitely some things to go around from a traffic standpoint. I wanted to make a motion to go attend the Planning Commission and find out what their rules and regulations are, because as Sherry knows, as a traffic commissioner as well, we're just beat up. The other day we had an area it's basically a square that has no parking on any of the, I mean, Baseline, Jenkins, 158th, no parking is allowed on street parking, and yet they had small lots. They have no driveways because the setback's gone, and they're willing to park in a ditch because there's no sidewalk.
Right.
And the people wanted, they would rather have an unsafe issue over cars. It was a very interesting conversation that I think is going to come up again and again. But like I said, we'll bring that up in just a minute for that. So thank you. Anything else? Okay. Sherry, treasurer's report. Sherry Stark.
Nothing really significant. I mean, maybe we've gotten $2 out of it since the summer, but it's probably more like $1.50. So nothing significant.
All right.
But I know the holidays are further down, but probably next month I'm going to be asking about holiday drives and coming up with that, just to give you a little warning.
Right, and I think that's good. We'll add that. We should add that, Miles, to the agenda as old business, because we will. That's something we've just done in the past, and I think we can add that as old business. We'll address when we come into it for next month. So thank you, appreciate that. The last thing would be the approval of the minutes from the last time we met, which was in June.
I think I just found one little tiny error, but it was under the chat part. It was at 2016-11. The Y got left off of driveway.
Oh yeah, the chat just that was just downloaded off of Zoom, so I didn't do that part. I don't know if we have to keep that as public record or what, but.
And then there was an error on one of the agendas too for.
Is that? No, that's a transcript of things, but I wonder if that's a way. Is that a feasible way to just keep the minutes and then you don't have to worry about all the transcriptions, or do we still need to break some of that out? I'm just thinking from Tracy's standpoint, is that?
Yeah. We still need
it's not
written
minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
It's only what gets put in the chat. It's not a transcript.
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay. Okay. All right. So with that in mind, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes with the note we had. Sherry? We'll let Sherry do a second then. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, so that motion passes 5-0 with no abstains. Okay, the next thing, was there any new business by anybody? Okay, and then real quick, just a run through of a couple of things that came up, just so that we can add that to it. There is a public hearing on doing the open air. As the mayor mentioned, these don't always have everything they need in them, so you can reach out to the city. They're hearing before the planning commission that they want to make a better idea of what's going on with the open air market and the open air streets. Right now you can only have, and that's a TVF&R requirements, you can only have a shelter, like a canopy on the street. You don't have that for 6 months and they have to take it down. So they put it up, take it down. So they put it up in the summer and beat the sun, or they can put it in the winter to beat the rain, but they can't do it both. There's a whole bunch of rules and regulations they're trying to figure out. So that public hearing is November 3rd, if you're interested in that. Just to note that the YMCA, who did their presentation for the park, I don't know if everybody can see it, the one that had the weird, this isn't gonna work, never mind. The one that was behind the Adopt Center, they came and spoke to us last fall. They're asking for a conditional, they're asking for a director's interpretation, because any outdoor activity or any activity that follows part of what they're doing for the children's play area technically would need to be covered. So they're asking if that really, if kids are in a playground, are they required right now to cover the playground? But that doesn't make sense because it's an outdoor playground. So they're asking for that request, and that was going through. Car Subaru is trying to add on an addition and make a bunch of changes, and they want some exceptions. That is November 17th. They want to basically redo that. This is a big enough one that they're not in our NAC, but when things like this come up, then we do get a notification for that. And that's because this is considered a major modification to the conditional use approval and gross floor area. They basically want to put a giant, as I understand, a giant, they want to cover the car lot. and make it a giant indoor garage so that they can conduct all the business. So those are the things that are on there for now. The last one was a bigger step, and this one had come up a couple of times. There's a hearing on November 3rd, and then there's another hearing on November 17th, both of them before the Planning Commission. And these are in regards to the Modera Raleigh housing project that we saw. They, just as a clarification, there's a public hearing because they're asking for an exception to the maximum amount of land used for a dwelling. They want 270 units. That's going to stay 270 units, 5-story building. But that area was zoned for 273 units when it was like it was, but the city's right of way, that right of way was purchased after the process was started. So they didn't realize it. So technically they can only have 267 units. So that is what this one conditional, they want a, they're asking for a minor exception to the number of items they, to the footprint they can have basically. That's because they've lost 5,000 square feet. Now, one thing that didn't come up was how much parking it was, which was kind of where we were going with Rick. I've already had a couple of questions from the people that live behind there. I had a couple of emails in general about what was going on. And then this came up similar to what we discussed at Traffic Commission. There's no on-street parking anywhere in that area. 5th, Western, well, 5th and Western both, and that's it. So the one question was, is it illegal if I walk through the access thing and park in Royal Woodlands? And the answer is that is the option, and we've seen that before. Then one Traffic Commission thing, they were walking over a bridge that had been put in for wetlands access, but they figured out they could go to the other neighborhood across that and the condos and an HOA. So those are questions that come up. If you're interested in that and you want to talk before the Planning Commission, I would definitely do that because this is one of those that seems like they're losing 5,000 square feet, 270 units. How many cars are they going to have? Those kind of questions came up before. And I think, Rick, it would be interesting to see what happens as they go forward, if that's going to work. I mean, are they going to go park at Michael's overnight, or they can't use the Kaiser one because Kaiser would be, but you know, can the woolen mill place do something? What'll happen with Weimar? So just wanted to bring those up, and it might be something to keep in mind when we go forward. And then when you talk about it with BCCI, because we can't increase the number of streets, and the traffic is going to get thicker, and that's an excellent point. But Ron, you know, if they've got people on both sides of the street now, it was a very interesting Traffic Commission meeting. If you're interested to go through the minutes from last time, because there were people that were more concerned about where they park than safety, but they use safety about being too far away from their home as a reason to not remove parking spaces, even though the places that they're pigeonholing in are of themselves unsafe. So it was a very interesting conversation that we'll see how it goes. That was all I had on those. I want to make sure the notices were in the record in case anyone needed to get those. Is there any new business, anything else? Okay, and then was there any final, I have nothing under old business or any of that. Miles, was there anything you had? I guess typically we'd ask Jabra for a staff report or final comments or something, so.
I'm glad to see that you're all returning. I didn't have to twist any arms, so that was great. Thank you, Ernie, for continuing to lead the group. That's all I have.
All right, well, we've got a good team, and certainly I would not be doing this alone. I would have my own coup and vacate and abdicate the throne. So we'll keep that in mind. Last thing was visitor comments. Do we have, Ron, technically you're the only visitor. Do you have a comment of any kind?
Well, I think I've already brought up as far as the parking thing. And while the modification to the housing for the zoning there doesn't affect me, it does affect my daughter, and I'll try and get her aware of that. Talk to the people over there.
And let them know when the meeting is. I also suggested to people to reach out to me that they go back and watch on video. It's even better because they used to be, well, they are recorded on TVF&R, not TVF&R,
Could you repeat the
THPRD.
date for the hearing?
November 3rd, November 16th. Sorry, November 17th. November 3rd for the approval of the building, and then the 17th is the exception to the zoning size. I did suggest that folks go out and watch the videos. They used to be on TVC TV for cable, and they still are, but you can go back and watch some of the planning commission, understand what the rules and what the triggers are and what they can and can't do. And I think that's a great venue for people that are asking. Last thing on that one comment, for anybody who's interested, that the Alpenrose, development, a lot of people, I've gotten emails asking what's going on with that from Beaverton residents, because our NAC members, which essentially we haven't heard from them before, but they border that property.
Right.
And that is Portland. So I've got a contact now, and I'm getting some information from the Planning Commission, and Miles has helped as that as well. So we're getting some feedback from them, from Portland, and the Planning from the Planning Department to keep updates on those. So we are definitely getting info and requests on what's going on. That is a Portland process, and so we're kind of stuck where we are. I just want to bring that up as well.
I just
All
have
right.
a quick question.
Yeah, go, Sherry.
If I happen upon people who have questions or concerns about signage of a new new adult entertainment establishment kind of in our neighborhood, where should I direct those concerns?
Do you know where the establishment's at?
It's behind Taco Bell on the corner of Shoals Ferry and Hall.
Yeah. If they go to the city's webpage, right at the bottom, there's a button that says report a problem. If they put it in there, it'll get to the right people.
Okay.
Yeah, it's probably code services. Signs are really hard to regulate because they're considered free speech. So we can regulate their size and placement, but not their content. And the rules are the same for everybody to keep it fair. So.
And then go on, Sherry.
Oh, I just anticipate hearing some feedback about some of the signs that I'm seeing.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then the one other thing that's interesting on that, and I think it came before the NAC and then went to the Planning Commission, was when the bike shop that was there where before Eco Binary went in was willing to pay for the entire landscaping along the front. And what they wanted to do was put a sign in that said, we're the bike shop here. And that the sign is the responsibility, and the size and location is the purview of the owner of the property. So the owner of the property really likes KFC. So that's why the sign stays and only has KFC and doesn't say Buy Mart. It doesn't say Round Table Pizza. It's because that guy gets to, that, or the person gets to do whatever they want. So one other thing to check on when you look at the sign is who's the property owner of that particular spot, because they're responsible for the sign as well. So if something's going wrong, they're the ones that are supposed to be managing that as well. So that may or may not help. The other thing that I do know for that property is that there's a discussion coming up, and I don't know, Miles, if you're aware, that they had put in, they had said it was okay to put in the pylon cones in the center so that you can make a left turn into Taco Bell. Basically from either side, you can only make a right turn into it. They're actually saying, okay, that wasn't such a good idea and we can't get in, and they've hired somebody to come in and put a entrance in the back end of that, down below where the marijuana distributor is. So that they can go in and out the same entrance and go that the Cheerful Tortoise or the sports page can use. So there's a bunch of discussion there too. You might bring that up as well. All right, anything else? All right, we're actually finishing early, so good deal, everyone. Thank you so much. We will see you next time. Oh, that was one question. Next meeting is falls on the November meeting would be on Veterans Day. We're going to cancel that. Is that correct? Because the city's closed, Miles?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, city will be closed.
All right, then our next meeting will be in December unless something comes up and we forego that one, but we're there. Sorry, Sherry Moore first.
was
Okay, I
just
get it.
saying
Sherry
as well.
Shrug. Yeah.
We were probably raising our hands about the same thing. Go ahead, Sherry.
Oh, I was gonna ask then, can I have forgiveness to spend money that we would normally do? Because the holiday drive account may need to spend money on that before I have approval.
That is perfect. Someone should make a motion.
I move that we let Sherry spend as much money as she wants. Or I guess we should give her an amount. Do you have an amount you think is appropriate, Sherry?
I'm trying to recall what we spent last.
I want to say like 250 or
I
300.
want to say it was like 250, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, I'm sure whoever gets to be the recipient of the $250 will be quite happy.
On or about, make a motion that we approve on or about 250 for, so in case you need to go over a little bit, then we to do that.
Can I second that?
Sure.
You can, yes, you can.
Okay.
All right. Any
Okay, so that
discussion
was-
at all from anyone?
Nope.
All right, all those in favor? Aye. That motion passes 5-0 unanimous. Thank you. All right, very good. Thank you, Sherry and Sherry, for pointing that out. I completely would have missed that. So yeah, because the next one wouldn't be until December 11th. We'll see. And last time we didn't have anything. So if we don't have anything pressing, we might not have a meeting, but we'll keep everybody updated. Is that it? All right, then thank you. End recording and